This is Unplugged, the upcoming Steam game I have been working on, a 2.5D multiplayer puzzle platformer inspired by games like Unravel 2, Trine, and even 3D games like Portals and It Takes Two. The basic concept is pretty straightforward. Like other multiplayer puzzle games, you need to cooperate with the other player and find your way through the complex puzzles in the level. And both the players can equip different abilities to help them find their way through the maze. Now, the unique part about the game, which makes it more challenging and different from the other games, is the plugs. Both the players are robots and need to be plugged into a power source to operate. Although the basic gameplay mechanics are now ready, in this video I want to share my journey on how I made it this far. I started developing Unplugged around a month ago, and after setting up the character controls, my primary focus has been the wires and the plug system. Since a major part of the gameplay is going to focus on power sources for the plugs and managing the length of your wire, I wanted the wire system to be as clean and bug-free as possible. Since developing a wire system from scratch with all the required physics was going to take too long, I decided to use a rope system plugin with all the required physics already added in it. For this purpose, OB rope plugin was perfect. It not only had all the physics I needed, but also allowed me to check the strain on the wire and change the wire length on runtime. I attached this rope to the player from one end, and on the other end I attached a model of the plug with physics added to it. The next part was making the robot hold the plug and then plugging it into a socket. This was pretty straightforward. For both holding and plugging in, I simply had to disable the physics on the plug and set its new position and rotation to the point where it would be held or be plugged in. After that, I just had to create two functions for adding power and removing power. These functions would be called from the plug, and from now on, the user input would only be processed if the robot has a power source. I also added a new animation for when the robot no longer has a power source. And just like that, when the robot lost power, it would no longer work. The last thing I needed for my character was managing the length of the wire. I didn't want to keep the wire a fixed length, as this would create a mess on the screen. The rope plugin made this extremely easy for me. With the plugin, I could check how stretched the wire was, and if there was too much stretching, I would simply increase the length of the wire. On the other hand, if there was no stretching, I would start decreasing the length of the wire. This way I could not only avoid creating a mess of wires, but also keep track of the wire length. And now that I knew the length of the wire, I was now able to pull the plug if the robot got too far away from the socket. After adding a user interface to display the power status and the wire length, I finally had my robot character ready. And now to repeat the whole process for the second character. Of course I wasn't going to repeat the whole process. I had my first character ready, and now I could simply reuse it to make the second character. I split the game window into two screens and then duplicated both the user interface and the robot character for the second player. After that, I created a joystick mapping for the second player while keeping the first player on the keyboard mapping. With a few more changes here and there, the basic gameplay mechanics of Unplugged were finally ready. The game is far from complete and will obviously need a lot more work. I will be sharing the progress regularly and would definitely like to hear your thoughts on the game. Also, it would be really helpful if you added Unplugged to your wishlist on Steam. Thank you for watching this video. See you all in the next devlog.